Hello, and welcome to the first half of my top 10 RPGs of all time. The criteria for the placement and inclusion of these games is down to a few things. The older the game is, the more likely nostalgia is going to be involved. I'm not a young guy, and some of the games listed here I haven't played for a long time. And while some of these might not hold up super well in today's RPG climate, they meant a whole lot to me at the time. So, let's stop waffling and get on with the list. Number 10. Baldurs Gate 2. Yes, we start our list with a Western RPG, and a very important one for me. Made by BioWare and published by Black Isles in 2000, this was the first RPG that opened my game-playing world to a much less linear type of interaction. At the time, my dad was dabbling in tabletop games, such as Space Crusade and HeroQuest, which took their inspiration from Dungeons & Dragons, the company that BioWare struck a deal with to use their world and their creatures that occupy it. They used this license to create an enormous open world for you to explore, from your isometric view on yourself and your merry band of companions. Baldurs Gate 1 and 2 allowed you to basically go anywhere and do anything, which at the time was amazing. Wanted to explore to the east? Go ahead. Wanted to kill that annoying guy who always just says, "Hiya," over and over again? By all means. The choice you are offered in this game is still a lofty goal for open world games that are being made today, let alone 16 years ago. I played an awful lot of this game, and whilst it's not high on my list, I certainly have a soft spot for the first open RPG I ever played. Number 9. Vagrant Story. And here is our first Square game, Vagrant Story. Made by Yasumi Matsuno and the team behind Final Fantasy Tactics, this is a unique action RPG that centers around Ashley Riot, our protagonist, who is a sort of medieval secret agent in search of a duke's kidnapped son from the bad guys. I haven't really seen a game take this sort of approach to combat before or since. You're a lone warrior known as a risk breaker who has the ability to attack his opponent's various body parts specifically, using the percentages associated with them to his advantage. The game very quickly involves chain attacks into the mix, turning this involved stat game into a rhythm title as well. The game also had a twist on upgrades. Long before crafting items was a mainstay of RPG-type games, Vagrant Story asked you to combine and refine your armor and weapons to improve them. This was actually a very in-depth tenet of the game's appeal to me. I would look up game facts on the game's crafting system and print out the guides. I didn't have permanent internet back then, to try and help me acquire that awesome piece of equipment. Vagrant Story is one RPG that doesn't seem to be well remembered or talked about much these days, but at the time, my love for the game went so far as for me to consider getting the tattoo that Ashley ends up with emblazoned on his own back. And that's saying something for a guy like me. Number 8. Chrono Trigger. For those of you who aren't aware, I've never owned a Super Nintendo. So you can probably guess how I came to play this game, and it's not something I'm proud of. But at the time I came to play Chrono Trigger, let me just say that I was a poor student looking to pass the time however he could, and boy did I find a great game to do that with. When you ask most people as to what console was the best for classic JRPGs, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't say the SNES. And if you ask those people which was the best on the system, a lot would say Chrono Trigger. At the time, Chrono Trigger was the best looking game on the system, bar none. But this wasn't the reason for its success. Whilst at first glance the battle system in the game might seem traditional and uninspired, but it's when your party combines their attacks together you see how much time and effort was put into making the battles exciting and different from other RPGs at the time. Of course, the other thing that makes Chrono Trigger so great is its time travel setting and character development. At the time, fantasy-style RPGs tended to be set in the past, with science being non-existent or very primitive, and magic being prevalent. However, Chrono Trigger makes full use of its ability to change its locale and time by going into the distant past or far-flung future and really setting convincing environments around those changes. It also allowed you to gather friends and allies from those times as well, and I for one can't get enough of Frog. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a friend who is a chivalrous amphibian? Number 7. Valkyria Chronicles. If someone had told me in 2008 that Sega were going to be making one of the best RPGs of that year, I would probably laugh in your face. Sega at the time seemed content to release awful Sonic the Hedgehog games and a passable Phantasy Star game, among other forgettable titles. However, Sega's Overworks studio released Valkyria Chronicles, a third-person tactical RPG, set in a fictional world that had a certain parallel to our World War II. In the game, you play Welkin Gunter, the son of a great war hero who is thrust into action when his hometown is invaded by the East European Imperial Alliance. It just so happens that your father left you a pretty great big tank to do this with. The story of this game is very well thought out, and feels very much like an anime series, with each chapter having cutscenes to further the plot of the game and to get you invested with the game's diverse cast. The game also deals with some very real issues as well. During the various cutscenes and plot development that occurs, various members of your crew are pointed out to be of Darkson descent. These people are treated by some as second-class citizens, and the game does a good job of bringing the implications of such a stigma to the front in its story. In fact, I've heard of a news article on a journalist website that points out the similarities between the Darkson and the Jewish community during World War II. Besides the well-thought-out and engaging story, the game also does a great job of differentiating itself from other tactical RPGs with its battle mechanics. In most tactical RPGs, player movements and actions are decided during a movement phase, and then carried out during an action phase during that unit's turn or at the end of your player's turn, but not in Valkyria Chronicles. Here, you control each and every character under your command to move them, and in some cases, aiming their shots before they're fired. This system works extremely well, and holds your attention so much better than other, more disconnected feeling games. It's amazing it hasn't been introduced into other franchises. Valkyria Chronicles could be higher on my list, however my PlayStation 3 broke some time ago, and I only ever had the chance to play through this outstanding game the once. Although I haven't stopped thinking about playing it again sometime. Number 6. Persona 4. In 2009, Atlas Games released the next game in the Persona series in the UK. After playing halfway through Persona 3 and enjoying a lot of what the game offered, I was curious to see what Persona 4 would do to improve itself from its older cousin, and I was not disappointed. The game takes place in Inaba, a rural town that is small and regarded as a place where things don't happen. Of course, the game doesn't stay this way for long. As the protagonist, you and your friends take it upon themselves to attempt to solve the strange happenings that are going on in the TV world, a place where your hidden emotions can be revealed and your nightmares can come to life, often to try and take it away from you. For those who don't know, Persona 3 and 4 are turn-based RPGs, based around the idea that people have a different side of themselves that they don't want to share with others, a side of themselves that actually holds great power, their personas. These personas come in many different forms depending on the person casting them. For your companions in battle, they take on a look of what that character might aspire to be, and for others, they could be a representation of what they don't want others to see. As the main character in Persona 4, you aren't bound by a single summonable avatar, you have the ability to wield multiple personas, and create new ones from an interesting crafting style system. So while the combat system allows you to summon these avatars to do battle for you, this isn't exactly new for the genre, and definitely not in 2009. So what was it that attracted me to this game? Well, the world that is created in this game is nothing short of amazing. At this time in my life, I was considering taking a trip to Japan, since I've been a fan of manga, anime, and Japanese games for most of my life. Being able to play a game that simultaneously plays fantastically, has a great cast of diverse characters to get to know, has recreated in anime form a world to explore, and translated all into English whilst retaining what makes the game Japanese and has Japanese traditions and lore in it, makes this a pretty good time for me. If any of you are anime or manga fans and you have not played this game, do so. You're missing out. And right now, I'm trying to figure out a way for me to be able to play Persona 5 when it comes out, since I don't own a PS3 or PS4 right now. Oh well, first world problems. And so, there are numbers 10 to 6 on my top RPGs of all time. If you feel like I'm missing anything out or just being plain dumb by including some of these, please feel free to use the comments section down below, and I'll point out why my opinion is better than yours. I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me for looking at the top 5 games in the RPG genre, according to me. Bye now.